Placid, New York, home of the 1932 and 1980 Olympic Games. It is Mount Van Hoevenberg and a legendary track all set up for the women's skeleton run number 2. Hi everybody, I'm Nick Gismondi alongside Bree Schaff, and an exciting day of racing here in Lake Placid as we get ready for this one. And Bree, I guess first off, we're going to take a look back at some of the highlights from that run number 1, where we saw Noelle Pikus-Pace really set the tone for how this was going to go today. This is Melissa Hollingsworth. She was 3rd place after her first run with a 55.97.
Right, the surprise but not a surprise. Melissa just got brought back up to World Cup off of ICC and just laid it down, made a statement.
Marion Theves from Germany is in that 2nd position with a 55.88.
Known for her driving skill, this is a long track, which really gives her an opportunity to come back from her usually slow start.
Coach happy with her run. And then the American, Noelle Pikus-Pace, 1st place after run 1, a 55.70. She has been on fire this season and looks to be continuing that here in Placid.
She is. Noelle is one of those people that is all sunshine and smiles, and I think the incident on the first race where she got disqualified, that's a dangerous combo. Now you add a little bit of anger to the mix, and she is going to be tearing things up.
The fist pump at the end, and she is your current leader. You mentioned the incident that happened early on in the season and how that has probably served to motivate her a little bit more as we get a look right there at the current rank after the first heat. What are your thoughts on that situation?
You know, 1800s is a huge lead. Oh, the situation from the first race.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, you know, it's one of those heartbreaking things where, yes, technically it's a rule, but it's just, you know, come on, guys. It was such a subtle little thing. It had already been approved, but what I think it is going to do is, you know, provide even more of a fire and you know, motivation for Noelle to just come and crush people.
All right, let's take a look at this track that these sliders are going to go down. It is a legendary one, and I will let you talk us through it. But what they're going to see right after the start is a tough one, and it's aptly named Cliffside, named in the honor of the original Cliffside curve because the track was really located alongside a cliff, but this is the start.
Yeah, this is a very unique track. You have a lot of turns, tight transition. They're all packed really close together. So we're in Cliffside here. This is the start of the track. This is where you need to be really soft and subtle and minimize your steers. Turn 3 is a hard left. You have to hammer down. You'll take usually a tap left there, and on up you want nice high line and 4. Coming into the Devil's Hideaway, aptly named because this is where the transitions are super tight. At a curve 7, you can find a lot of speed dropping out of there. And now here's where you get to take a nice deep breath. Shady. You can see the riding in the turn there is nice, long one. You find a lot of speed there as well. Coming into turn 12, this gets tricky. A lot of skeleton sleds have trouble there. I've got a huge scar on my shoulder from that turn. In fact, coming into the chicanes, you can take a nice little tap right, tap left. Not a big deal. Up into 17. Turn 18, not a problem in skeleton. You can usually relax and flow through there on up to the finish curve that is actually closer. It's after turn 19 in skeleton as opposed to bobsled out of turn 20.
So a very fun track and a nice setting here in Lake Placid, New York. Don't let that scenic fool you. It is cold and it is a little bit snowy here today. The snow not falling right now, some blue skies, but talk about the air temperature. Not a lot of wind right now, a very little wind. You see the flags moving just a touch, but how do these conditions lay themselves out for
You know, it's
skeleton?
funny in a winter sport when we complain about the cold, because clearly, you know, we're out here. You wouldn't have a track if it wasn't cold, but there is such a thing as too cold, and what that does to the ice texture is it can, in fact, make it a little bit stickier. And so you'll notice some of the athletes at the start, especially on the first run, they put their sled down and kind of staring at it going, did I leave my runner guards on? That's actually what Noelle said after the first run, because it's so sticky, and that, you know, can set you back a little bit. You know, you kind of get confused, then you got to get your mind right again. But it'll make it a little bit easier to steer as long as the ice stays clear. But with these snow drifts, that can actually make it a little bit easier to break into a skid.
Getting the start ready, and as they do that, you had to look at the start list. Let's go down that and talk about some of the other names that we expect to see there. The top 20 came out of that first heat. we already spoke about Noelle Pikus-Pace and Marion Theves and Melissa Hollingsworth, your top three. But as you get a little bit higher in this, is there anybody on here that you expect to see maybe make a move? How about Katie Ulander from the United States? She is starting in that 8th position.
Right, she's definitely someone, she's won world championships here on this track. It is her home track. Her and I actually started at the same time here a long time ago. But if there's anyone that has a chance to jump up, it's Katie, but she's also battling back from a head injury. And so that's something she's really struggling with, especially as you watch the sport, watch the helmets, and you can see some people with their head dragging a lot on the ice. That's the G-forces, and it can be really tough to hold your head up in turns, big turns like shady or high-pressure turns as you're coming down the track.
Nozomi Komura will be starting things off, the Japanese slider, the Olympic Games. Wow, they are under 60 days away from the start of things in Sochi, Russia, and that, of course, on everyone's mind. Is there a different approach in these World Cup events in an Olympic year?
You know, it's all practice leading up to the games. What it actually allows you to do, by the time you get to the games, you've completed about 8 World Cup races. And in my experience going into Vancouver, every single race in the Olympics were on the line. And so you really get used to high stakes racing, which sets you up to handle the pressure of the Olympics.
All right, Komura is off.
Only the top 20 from our first.
Even though it's a drop there off of 2, that is a tough turn if you don't enter just right. You can see her having trouble stabilizing after that.
Number 2 for today's FIBT.
Her start time a little bit slower than her first start. That's a 5.60 here. She was a 5.59, not by much, just a little bit, but still a touch slower for Komura.
Now you see her line crossing upwards a little bit into shady. You're looking for a nice round line, and it takes very subtle steers in there. Hit out of 12, not bad, all things considered. That's definitely a turn that people are afraid of on this track.
Comes off the wall right there. We've seen that a lot, a little bit of a bump. 28-year-old's best finish was 4th in a World Cup. That was here in Lake Placid back in 2010.
And it's always tough to say, you know, the difference between seasons. When an athlete usually has success on a track, they'll have success every year after that. But this year, especially in all the sports, we've seen a lot of popping up and down, and you never know what's going on. Equipment, maybe they struggled with injury all summer.
So a 154.38 for Komura as she kicks things off here for the second heat for the ladies in the skeleton.
You can see her leg flying up there. A lot of times what looks like steering is just the turn taking control.
She had a 57.02 her first run. This is Leldi Prudolina from Latvia. 57.01 in her first. She finished in 19th.
You'll notice the load there. She was a little bit abrupt on the load. The key to loading a skeleton sled is being as soft as possible. You're pushing as hard as you can, but if you take that acceleration and you hammer the sled as you load, you risk popping the groove. So pay attention to how people load that sled.
28-year-old with a 5.48 start time. Prudolina ahead again here, so she's 3,300s out in front now. Just their second slider to go.
Crossing up again through shady. Could use a little bit more height, but a great exit. That's a difficult turn to come out of because a lot of times you'll hit a compression point on the exit and it'll pop your head back up as you're trying to maintain position. Nice high line through 17. Great crossover in 18.
So she's led through all the splits. She's going to come across here, and a nice job. So Prudolina will overtake the lead. She is out in front early on here in the ladies' second run of the skeleton. All right, so Prudolina is your new leader. A good run for her. 6,600ths ahead of Komura. She was going about 70 miles an hour throughout that run, and we will get you back up now to the top for our third slider. This is the Canadian Sarah Reed, currently sitting in that 18th spot.
Sarah's had a lot of success here in the past, and you know, this is another time where I was talking about where you're not quite sure what the difference is. You know, they medal here one year, and then, you know, the next race sitting in 18th. I'm not quite sure what's going on.
26-year-old from Calgary on the sled built by Bromley is off the start here. See if she can improve on where she was. Her start time in the first run was a 5.43, a 5.42 here.
5.42.
So Reed off to a good one. Let's see if she can hold and maintain this, trying to take over that time of Fridolina, who set it down.
Watch people's bodies as they're going through the top of the track here. That's where you can use your more subtle steers, where you're going to see someone not necessarily hammering a shoulder or a knee down, but you're going to see a little movement in the leg and just trying to lean so that they're not digging the runners into the ice.
5,700s ahead. She's improved so far at every split, keeping it going here. She was 23, then 40, now 5,700s. We get her speed in a second here for you. She's flying 71.6 miles an hour. Decent pace for her. A little bump off the wall there, Bree.
Pretty typical. Those are the chicanes, and what you can't tell on camera is it's actually a build-up right and a build-up left. So it's the straightaway that's not so straightaway, which makes it very tricky. So
the Canadian finishes and will move into that first place with a total time of 1:52.79. She had a 56.84 back in her first run. Back in Lake Placid, that is Sarah Reed you're seeing there, your new leader. She comes across in a time of 1:52.79. Nick Gismondi with Bree Schaff bringing you this one from Mount Van Hovenberg, very legendary track as we get set for slider number 4. This is also a Canadian. This is Robin Thompson, a 56.81 in her first run. That was good for 17th. She will also be on a sled built by Bromley, no surprise there. Thompson, a Calgary native, is 22 years old.
She just watched her teammate lay it down. That run that Reed put down could very well keep her in the lead for a while. And I'll tell you, when you're standing on the start line, it's sometimes that can mess with you. If you watch someone go in front of you that just puts a smoker, you know, that can mess with your head a little bit, or it can motivate you. It depends.
Especially when it's a compatriot. She improves on her start, a 5.51 here for her. Behind in the splits a little bit right now, though. 1100's back.
And usually you'll see a trend depending on how she's doing. Sometimes that, you know, if you have one big mistake at the beginning, that's going to multiply down the track, as we see 2600's back now.
So she's falling off.
Steering card. Okay, late into 12 is how you get scars on your shoulder. She saved it, but she had to steer so hard to come out of there that she cut a lot of time. We're going to see her even farther back now.
That is scary. 4,100's back right now in her 4th split coming into the finish. She will not overtake her compatriot, but she will finish, well, she finishes in that 2nd spot. So she will currently be holding there. So Thompson, with a 5.51 start, is 900's back, currently sitting in 2nd place behind Reed, her teammate.
And something to watch for as you're watching these races is the entry into that turn. You can see she's along the right side. That's what we call late, dead late into 12. And then the sled wipes up on the turn. She's hanging off like she's hanging on a cliff on the exit of the turn there. And that's a spot where if you get it just right, if you get a nice early entrance, it feels like it suctions you down. But when you go in like that, you're just in survival mode. The feet go down, everything just trying to get you out alive.
Olga Potlitsnia, Russian, currently in 16th at the start right now. Impressed by start times and the track speed right now?
Yeah, you know, a lot of times you'll have, with a sticky start like that, your speeds won't necessarily reflect, but the track is relatively fast for what I would consider a slower, sticky start.
Podilitsnia is off and running. She had a 5.49 start in her first, improves on that here, a 5.47 to start her 2nd run. 56.69 had her in 16th place after run 1, and she is now off here in that 5th position.
She's 100
Okay, so you want to watch for turn 4 is a great turn to watch there for height. You want a nice round line there to shoot out. You see a sled going low through there, that means they're going to have trouble on the end and that they're cutting a lot of ice. You could hear her steering in that turn. That is something that athletes anticipate. A lot of times you'll do a safety steer. Even if you might go in perfect, you'll safety steer it so that you don't risk a rough outcome.
Podilitsnina is a 30/100ths back right now. 300ths back, excuse me, coming across the finish, and she will not overtake things. So it is Reed who remains your leader from Canada. The Russian slides into 2nd. So look here now at the replays for the Russian, Podilitsina.
And watch the shoulders, especially when we slow it down like this. The key to skeleton is relaxing as much as humanly possible while you're bombing it down a hill, which is pretty counterintuitive. But the more you can relax, the more you're one with the sled, the faster your speeds are going to be.
Donna Creighton from Great Britain is next up at the start. You see the Canadian is out in front as your leader right now. That is Sarah Reed. Right now, Creighton in the 15th spot. 28-year-old from Murata.
Creighton, another great starter. 5:34, significantly better than her first heat. That is going to give her a chance to pass Reed, who laid down a smoker on the run.
That is the fastest start we've seen. You mentioned her first run start time, a 5:41. Her run time was a 56.64. That was, as we said, good for 15th, but she is ahead of the splits right now. 2800ths out in front.
And typically in sliding, you'll see the difference in start can multiply down a track, especially in Lake Placid. So we consider, say, someone is a 10th, they improve their start by a 10th. That can equal about 3/10 down the track as long as you don't make any mistakes. Nice line there in 11:12, but she's losing speed. Sometimes, in order to get those beautiful looking lines, if you have to work too hard, the runners are going sideways and you're scrubbing time.
Yeah, she's losing it a little bit here. She is still ahead by about 106, so not too much of a lead into the final turn here and across the line.
Oh, 400ths.
Goodness.
You're not seeing the normal jubilation in athletes when they pass people in that winner's box. That's, I imagine, Reed expected to be a lot higher, and that's the look of someone that's saying, nope, I'm climbing to where I should be.
So Podilitsina from Russia is overtaken by the very next athlete. The slider from Great Britain, Creighton, jumps out into that second spot, but Reed is still your leader. Here's a look at the replays.
Yep, watch those shoulders, keep nice, relaxed. You can see the minute bumps in the track, and the key is just absorbing them like jello. Her speed, not what Reed had, and then what's going to make it worse is anytime we're seeing those runners go anything but parallel, that's just scrubbing along the ice.
So a hug at the finish line there for Donna Creighton as we get set for our 7th slider. This is Lucy Schaefer. First run start time was a 5.58, so she improves on that. A 5.55, sixth fastest, excuse me, easy for me to say. A 56.46 her first run time, and she's off here. There's that bump on the wall, throws the leg out a little.
Yeah, it's all about balancing that counter movement, especially at the top of the track when you have that ability at lower speeds. Nice high round line through 10. Great exit, a little bit early onto 11, but oh, that puts her really nice onto 11:12 there.
She's ahead, going about 72 miles an hour, 71.8 to be exact. 2100's out in front right now, the lead, trying to take over that time of the Canadian Sarah Reed. See if she can get it or not here. Into that finish, to the line. Does she have it? Yes, she does. So Schaefer will overtake it with a 1:52.56.
It definitely helps the Australian team is coached by Eric Bernatus, former U.S. skeleton slider. Started here, is what I would consider the foremost expert on Lake Placid. That's going to help these girls a lot.
Schaefer from Australia. We'll get another look at her start right here.
So something to notice while these athletes are going is which groove they pick. You can set your sled in the right groove, left groove with either runner, and it's all personal choice, but a lot of it depends on how the training week went and how those grooves set them up into turn one.
So the 30-year-old from Perth is your new leader from Australia. That is Schaefer. This is Katie Ulander from the United States going in that 8th position. She had a 5.60 start the last time. We'll see if she improves on that right here. That was good for 17th. She does not, a little slower. 5.68. Says she struggled a little bit in training coming into this. It's been a little sloppy for her.
Yeah, when you suffer a head injury, it just takes so long to come back from it. Not only the head injury itself, but you're not training. And so something Katie's really struggling with right now is being unable to physically train and stay in the shape that she knows she can be. I mean, she's set start records here before. She's an incredible athlete, and it's really hard, you know, emotionally to be that far back at the start, you know, knowing where you could and should be.
Her first run time was a 56.33. She's back behind right now in this one, but she's holding a little bit. She was at around 11, then a 16. Now she's picked it up a little bit. She's 1500ths back. We'll see if she can gain a little bit more speed down here towards the end.
See, Katie's someone that's known for kind of having her feet fly around, but she is someone that makes it work. Behind 2300s.
So the American Katie Ulander is in, I believe it is actually...
Oh, she's tied with Sarah Reed.
Tied for second with Sarah Reed. So Schaer, the Australian, still leads in this one, but Ulander currently tied in second with the Canadian Sarah Reed, who led for a while out of just that third start. Get another look here at
Okay,
Katie's
so
run.
look, you see that mark on the left side of the wall there? That is because skeleton sleds are constantly smashing there. It's in 19, it's a lot of pressure, your head is buried, and you can't necessarily see the exit, and that's a spot where in this track alone, I wore a little plastic protector on my hand because you would hammer that wall.
Weren't you just telling me you wanted me to give this a try?
Yes, I was. We'll get you a little plastic protector.
I heard nothing about a plastic protector when we discussed this earlier.
So you'll notice they saw her sled popped out a little bit. You have a start clock right up there on the right-hand side. The athletes have 30 seconds to get their sled past the first timing eye. So if you have a little mishap like that, it gives you a little bit of room.
This is the Russian Maria Orlova. She started with a 5.42 in her first run. She improves on that here for the second fastest start, a 5.37. Her run time from run one was a 56.32.
I suppose talking about smashing a wall and then telling you should take a skeleton ride, it's kind of like saying, here, this smells terrible, smell it.
I feel like my best interest might not be yours at the moment. Pure enjoyment is what Bree's looking for to throw me down this track.
You saw her cross pretty hard up into Shady. This is Orlova is working hard on this run right here. She is not going to be holding a lead.
Not the fastest that we have seen. 70 miles an hour right now. She's ahead by 2400s right now here at the split. We'll see if she can hold it. I don't know. She might jump out in front.
Oh,
and
wow.
She will.
I was not paying attention to the numbers. From the looks of the run, it should not have been that fast, but that was surprising.
So Maria Orlova of Russia now moves into that first spot, a 1:52.53. Schaer sits down in second. Reed is in third, tied with the American Katie Ulander, who also sits in that third spot. Well, let's get another look at it here. We'll give you another chance on this run.
So we see here, usually you'll do kind of, you want to move the sled around in that groove, especially when it's sticky. And you saw sometimes the more sleds that get in there and melt the ice a little bit, it'll melt that groove out and make it easier to pop. So you really want to be careful as you want to ease that sled out. You can't just push hard. You can't push down and jam out. It's definitely easing it out of the groove.
So the Russian gives the crowd a wave as we get set for our 11th ranked slider. Excuse me, this is Katharina Hines of Germany.
Hines is another one of those German sliders that's especially slow at the start, but these girls are so skilled in driving. A lot of them come from luge, which is the ultimate driving school because you have so much control. That is a sliding sport where you have precision, sharp runners, and you learn to drive every inch of a track.
The 26-year-old improves on her start time of 5.66 for her. That is better than the 5.70 from her first run. She is behind the count right now, though. 3,600s back after that second split. Picks up a little time here. Now she's 3,300s back. She's currently sitting in third. See if she can improve on it. Trying to beat that time of Orlova.
She is back, and sometimes what can appear to be a great-looking run, it just depends on if her start was slow or if she's working too hard to get those perfect lines. That's just scrubbing ice the harder you steer.
Going faster than Orlova, she will cross out in front, so Hines jumps out. She was behind the entire way and picked up a lot of time.
She found a warp zone.
Wow.
that classic Mario warp zone. That's what these Germans seem to be the only people that can do that.
Incredible. So she jumps up by 0.20 ahead of Orlova. She was faster. 71.7 was about 2 miles an hour faster than what we saw Orlova going.
As we just saw in that replay, a little bit of a late entry into 12, and when you watch their legs swing up, that means that they're missing that first pressure in the turn.
All right, so Hines is your new leader from Germany. Orlova is sitting in that second position. Lucy Schaer is in third.
Take 2-minute warning to our next competitive.
Back inside Lake Placid.
Don't forget, after this heat, we have one final race.
The women's skeleton second heat and a new leader. Hines is out in front. Orlova is in that second spot, and Schaer is in third.
Nice shot of turn 17 there. Big, wide open turn. What you can't see is if you don't catch that first pressure, you can get sucked back up on the end there, make a little bit of trouble going to 18.
A little break in the time right here as the fans are happy to be in Lake Placid. I don't know why they're waving because it is freezing out there.
So cold out there. It just feels like it's getting colder and colder as the day goes on.
I would be lying to you if I told you I was out there exposed as well, but Bree and I are very comfy.
Yes, we are. And we're watching people race in spandex. It is not your typical cold weather material, but it's all about speed. Also
probably good to point out that Bree is in spandex in the boot to stay in the moment. She's really embodying this.
You got to live it.
So if we take a look back at where we're at right now in the standings, with Hines out in front, there's been a few surprises in terms of where they're finding speed on this track.
Yeah, there's a few key spots, and if you can nail it in those spots, it's crazy how much acceleration you can find, and these Germans are specialists at finding all the fine details that suddenly pop them out even faster at the bottom. You know, lacing that chicane, you can find a lot of speed in 14. It's all about being very subtle here. You can barely steer down this track if you know what you're doing and you time those steers right. And the less you steer, the faster you're going to go.
Back at the start in Lake Placid, this is Marina Gillardoni from Switzerland, currently 10th. Your leader right now is Hines from Germany. Orlova from Russia is in second, and Schaer from Australia is sitting in the third spot. Gillardoni is off. We'll see if she improves on her start. Yeah, she does. That's a 5.32.
Marina is actually a former bobsled brakeman and transitioned over into skeleton. You can see she's a bit small for bobsled. The bigger the better in bobsled, and so her size wasn't necessarily helping her out, but obviously she has the speed, as you can see, translates and transitions over into skeleton.
The top 10 women in the world are on the ice right now. Don't go anywhere.
3,300s ahead of the pace. You now watch their lines through the great reference point is that Lake Placid sign where you can see the parallel lines. You want to see the athlete going nice and parallel, following along those lines. If they're crossing up, that means they're going to get a bit of pressure on the end.
Gillardoni has been ahead so far at every split as she comes into these last few turns. Let's see where she's at. Time to beat is a 1:52.33. Will Gillardoni have it?
Oh!
No! Wow.
So close, but still a solid finish for an athlete that hasn't been sliding skeleton too long.
So Gillardoni is now in that second position, and this brings up the point as we see the 26-year-old from Eschenbach give a little wave right there. But the question is we've seen some lost time at the finish, and we've seen some time picked up at the finish. So where's that happening at?
Yeah, you know, and it's tough to say, but what you can't, you know, if we could just be there, if you had sensors on the sled and you could see how hard, you know, if you could somehow get a number on how hard they're steering and when they're steering, you can see, but she is so excited. I think this is her best finish ever. Like I said, she has not been sliding skeleton very long, and it is fantastic to, I mean, some of the people that she just beat, that's incredible.
So Gillardoni happy to be in second at the moment, right behind Hines and ahead of Orlova. This is Shelley Rudman from Great Britain.
Shelley's another athlete that it's actually surprising to see her in this position. Very successful, usually dominating the circuit, and so she has a chance to lay down a run here and really hang out in that winner's box.
32-year-old from Bath improves on her start time. That's a 5.51. She was a 5.54 in that first run. A 56.21 had her sitting at 9. So right in the middle of the pack, she has a chance to maybe do something here.
Maybe 2 in today's standings. She's starting the level 5 into curve 7, making her way into curve 8 and 9. And she
nice transition there into 8-9. This is the part of the track where you just want to be super soft. You can see, if you hear that sound, that little, that's her face dragging on the ice in turn 10. That's well, it's really tough to steer there when you can't see, and you're judging an exit by feel. You can feel the pressure coming, and then you just get to know it well enough. You have 6 training runs during the week to figure it out for race day, and you get to feel enough to then kind of pretty much much guess on your exit.
She is flying 72 miles an hour and across the line as your new leader. So Rudman from Great Britain overtakes Hines. Gillardoni from Switzerland is currently in third. So Marina Gillardoni is now moved down into the third spot, and Rudman now is your new leader. Take a look here at the replays.
Turn 14 is so subtle. Sometimes it just feels like you're threading a needle. You really don't have to do much in there, and you can gain a lot of speed the less you steer.
Back at the top, Elizabeth Yarnold going from Great Britain, currently ranked in that 7th position. Her first run start time was a 5:45. That was good for 6th on the sled from Blackrock, and a 5:6.20 for her first run time. She improves on her start time. The fastest one we've seen here so far, 5:31.
She has a chance here to do some damage. She podiumed here at World Championships a couple years ago. She's one of those sliders that just kind of, everything she's touched has turned to gold since she started skeleton.
Ahead of the split, that's 2,500s out in front right now. Now she loses a little time, 2,000 still out in front.
You can see her steering there with her toes in shady. There are so many different ways to steer a skeleton sled. The sled has flex, so you can steer with your shoulders, your knees, your toes, head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
I'm going to need this information when you throw me down this track.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, do not steer. If you don't know what you're doing, all you're going to do is hurt yourself.
Yarnold doesn't hurt herself. She moves into the lead. So she is out in front right now with a 1:51.88. She was going about 72 miles an hour, and a great run for her. 3,400ths ahead, a 1:51.88. Elizabeth Yarnold now overtakes the lead. Rudman from Great Britain is in the 2nd spot, and Hines is currently sitting in 3rd.
You can see that special bib she's wearing. It says World Cup leader. Chances are this is good enough to maintain that World Cup lead, of course, because Pikus-Pace was disqualified in the first race.
Pikus-Pace will be coming up as our last slider to go. We'll see her shortly. Right now, this is Michelle Steele from Australia, currently ranked in 7th.
The track is now clear to be finished. You start one.
Michelle Steele has a lot of experience here, and especially coached by Eric Bernatis, as I talked about, the former U.S. athlete. She's a great, great skeleton slider. Oh, pushes with 2 hands. I didn't know that she still did that. You'll see most people now have switched over to the one-handed push because it opens up your hips a bit and allows you to accelerate easier. But she's tiny enough that probably doesn't make a difference.
A 5.40 start for her. That is an improvement on her first run start. Her time in that first run was a 56.20. She's looking to do better there. She's behind the mark right now.
Big skid going into 3. That's tough. She's light. When you skid like that, it's going to be hard. The heavier you are, the more momentum you're going to carry down. I mean, she is tiny. She's got a great aerodynamic profile. She's shaped like a bullet.
Helping her a little here, but she's still back in the lead. 4,100's back after that third split. Let's see if she can pick up a little bit here. Nah, she's losing more time. 5,400's back into this final couple turns.
She laced the chicane, but it is too late. The problem is if you make a mistake up top, the idea is after you start, you have velocity and you want to accelerate that. But if you have a skid going into 3, it kills your velocity and it makes it really tough.
So she had a bronze last week. She won't get that here. Yarnold is your leader. So Elizabeth Yarnold is out in front right now as Michelle Steele from Austria crosses the line. Australia, good for...
That dropped her quite a bit.
Janine Flock.
To clear the track. The track is now clear for the finish. To start one. Start number 1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Gismondi alongside Bree Schaff here in Lake Placid. This is Janine Flock from Austria. Going in that 15th position. Your leader right now is Yarnold from Great Britain, her compatriot. Rudman is in that 2nd position, and the German Hines is sitting in 3rd.
Clock is potentially on the verge of having her best finish, but you saw the same thing that happened to the Russian. The sled swirled out a little bit in the groove there. Oh no, so what we couldn't see there is that she broke away as she exited those start grooves, the grooves that are set that you have stability as you push. Sled broke away, we didn't see it, and it put her super late into one. And when you do that, it's like pushing your thumb into something and just wiping it. The whole sled turns at once, and then velocity's gone. She's already 3,500s back, which really unfortunate. You know, I'm sure she was so excited where she was standing.
Yeah, she's falling off big time here now, 4,900s back. Her start was an improvement on her first run. It was a 5.49.
Yeah, now the question is how many places is she gonna fall? It is so hard to come back from that. If you don't have the velocity, you can have a great start time, but if you kill your velocity by scrubbing sideways and wiping onto turn one, there's just no way to come back from that.
Struggling here and into the final. She will not be overtaking the lead. Let's see if she even gets anywhere near it. No, so she is in that 8th spot. A 1:52.67. We saw her coach there not too pleased with it, currently in 8th, and it went wrong from the beginning.
It did, and isn't it, you know, when you're competing and something like that happens, all you're thinking is as you go down, you're trying to stay positive, going catch up, I need to have a perfect run, but that's really too bad. That would have been very exciting for her. So you're gonna watch as the sled comes out. You can see where those grooves end, and if you're not completely calm, it just kicked her. And now they're a little bit sideways, and now she's going really late into turn one. And watch what the sled does, wipes onto the turn.
So a difficult run for her. She sits in 8th as we get ready now for Catherine Eustace of New Zealand.
This is pretty exciting for Catherine. If she finishes 14th or better, she's going to qualify for the Olympic Games already.
So a big run for her. A 5.52 start, a little bit quicker than her start back in her first run. She had a 56.08. Obviously, she's sitting in that 5th spot. Some good sliders to come, but other, like you just said, important implications for her in this run here for Eustace.
She's got a bit of time to work with after that great first run. Nice line through Shady. She has a chance to bring some time back here.
1700s back of it right now. We've seen time pick up right here. She maintains, still 1700s back.
Turning back time.
See if she can pick it up a little bit here. There's that final big curve. Let's see if she's got it. Gonna drop into that finish, and she did do it, yeah. She doesn't overtake the lead, but she moves up into that 2nd spot, and that means big implications for her for the Olympic Games.
That's gotta be so comforting for her. I mean, when you're competing all season, if it comes down to a last race to qualify for the Olympics, to do that right now she can just focus on preparing for the Olympics. It's a World Cup season. It's an entire tour leading into that race, but of course that is the only thing on people's minds this season.
So a nice job for Eustace. She's also in 2nd now behind Yarnold and ahead of Rudman. That is your top 3, and you get a look at her right there. That will be a very good time for her, and she's very pleased with that as she has now punched her ticket to Sochi. Anja Huber of Germany is our next slider to go. 3 more after her. Your top 3 coming up: Hollingsworth, Theves, and the American, Noelle Pikus-Pace. Right now, we'll see if Huber can make a dent.
Another one of the few remaining athletes that pushes two-handed, but she is someone that is so explosive that she'll still typically have very good start times.
All right, so a 5.65 start time for her in run 1, a 5.59 here. Looking to improve on her run time from number 1 of 56.02. She's behind a little after that start.
Looked like she was maybe a little bit hesitant. I guess she did push one-handed on the first heat, so something gave her pause to push two-handed and be a little bit safe there.
1100s back after the 2nd split.
But she is German, and so there's a warp zone hanging out here that she's gonna find. We could very well see her just accelerate magically.
She's picking it up, just 0.05 back right now. Now she's into the lead. Will she maintain it?
Watch, you see that lean? That's a way of avoiding a steer. She didn't have to push a runner into the ice. She just leaned her way off the right wall at a 14.
By 1,000, now by maybe a little bit more. Into the finish. She's going to overtake it, I think.
Wow.
And she will. 151.83. So she jumps out in front. Huber finds that German warp zone that Bree was talking about and is your new leader with a 151.03. Great run for her.
Fantastic run. That could very well leave her in the winner's box for a few sleds here.
There are 3 sleds to go. It is the top 3 that we talked about at the beginning of the show. You've got Melissa Hollingsworth from Canada next, and then Marion Theves and Noelle Pikus-Pace. But here's a look at this great run by your new leader, Huber.
You can see a lot of times with the chicanes, people's feet moving around. Just, you can so delicately stabilize that sled when you're coming through an uphill portion of the track like that.
She is still fist pumping as we go back to the top now from Melissa Hollingsworth of Canada, currently sitting in that 3rd spot.
This is a huge race for Hollingsworth. I believe their qualification process, this could qualify her for the games if I'm not mistaken. She's one of those people that has all but one qualifier, and bumping up on the World Cup and a great result here could be huge for her. Ooh, a little tap that put her late into 4. That's going to make things tough.
And that time of Huber also, we're almost positive that qualified her for the Olympic Games as well. So a lot of people punching their ticket to Sochi right now. Can Hollingsworth of Canada be another one of them?
Right, and each country has their own qualification standards. It's not necessarily just by FIBT points.
Right now, 4,300's back.
Ooh, she's really far off.
She's going to have to find some speed here at the very end to pick it up. I don't know if she's going to have it or not. We've seen some surprising things, and she will not get it. She will be in that 6th spot, though, for Hollingsworth.
She was so close.
152.36 for the Canadian.
I mean, there's really no one out here with more experience than Melissa Hollingsworth. She has been racing a long time and has had so much success in the sport.
So right now it is Huber who is your leader. Yarnold is in 2nd. Eustace is in 3rd. The time to beat is a 151.83 with 2 sleds left to go. This is Hollingsworth's run.
Dropping out of 7 there.
Track is now clear from the finish to start number 1. Start 1 for
Hollingsworth not incredibly pleased with her run. Not a very big smile there. Oh, there's a little smile for the crowd as we go back up top for Marion Theves of Germany, currently sitting in 2nd. She had a 5.588 run time there in that first one, only behind Noelle Pikus-Pace, the American, who we'll see next. Her start time in that first run was a 5.76. There's that one-handed start.
You can see her leaning there. You're trying to get as parallel and early as possible into 1. So depending on the groove that you choose, that's going to help you do that. But you can see you use your body. You don't want to steer right there, so you just try and lean yourself into position.
Exact same start time as she had in run 1, a 5.76. She's behind the count right now, though.
Really not behind by much, considering how far back she is at the start.
Standing on the leader box, big smile on her face.
See if she can pick anything up here. 2,800's back now after that 3rd split.
One of the things Marion's really good at is being super subtle and relaxed on the sled, and that's what's going to help you gain speed, but that is not going to help. Sideways through the chicane, that's an uphill portion of the track. That's going to hurt quite a bit.
She's going about 73 miles an hour. She's 2,600's back now into the final turn, and she will not break that top 3. So Theves now, just off the mark, is back in the 4th spot. So your leaders remain Huber, Yarnold, Eustace, and Theves, a 152.19 for her. She knows she made the mistake, and you know where it was.
That was the look of what happened. What I love about these slow motion replays is you can really study the form and position of on the sled, and that's where she comes out 3 a little bit early and the sled goes sideways, and those subtle skids up top are going to hurt your speed, especially for someone like her who's so far back at the start. She needs to be perfect.
Well, she's a little disappointed. We just saw her come in front of the broadcast booth here because she knows Noelle Pikus-Pace from the United States. She is coming up next, and she is on course right now. She had a gold in Lake Placid last week. Her home track there in Park City. She loves it here, though. She also complained that her training runs were a little sloppy. She said, quote, they were all over the place.
But she's looking really good here. something that Noelle is an expert at is just molding to that sled, becoming one with it. So even if a run may not look that good, if you can be relaxed and really flow with the ice like Noelle can, that's what makes her dominate this sport.
Not a great start, a little bit quicker than her start in first run, but she's ahead now. 2700s, 2200s, 15 and now 2100s out in front.
That's going to help. You see her quick dancing of the feet there. She's just trying to stabilize the sled and keep it going straight through the chicane.
Good enough for a second gold. We'll see in just a moment. Will she do it? Something to prove and a little bit of anger, and yes!
Oh, man. She got a passport to a German warp zone there. That was fantastic. Oh, Noelle just coming out on fire. She definitely has something to prove after that first race.
So Noelle Pikus-Pace improves on her first run time of 55.70 with a 55.67. That is good enough for a 151.37 and another gold medal, so she goes back-to-back. And some might say back-to-back-to-back.
Yeah, and collecting some high fives at the bottom. Who could pass up a high five?
You want a high five?
I'd like
a high five. There it is. So Noelle Pikus-Pace with another spectacular performance. She comes away with her second gold in a row. Another one here after taking it in Park City last week. She is excited. What is this setup for her for the Olympic Games? She is looking so good so early on.
Yeah, and, you know, Noelle is someone that decided to come back a little bit later. You know, she thought she was retired after Vancouver, but I tell you, there's a vortex in sliding sports, and it is so hard to get away. And there you can see her kids right there. She is so motivated by the love and support of her family and hometown.
We'll get another look at her run here. She is your gold medalist here in Lake Placid for the women in the skeleton. She said that her training runs were sloppy and that she needed to smooth out her turns. Looks pretty smooth to me. So Noelle Pikus-Pace does good on American soil for the U.S. She comes away with another gold. Anything particular about her run that makes it that much cleaner than what we saw?
You know, what you can't see is the home track advantage. A lot of times, you know, she had a great run, but we saw a lot of great runs here. But what the home track advantage is being able to achieve those lines with even less steering and more confidence than other people that haven't been here as much. She knows exactly where to steer, just enough to get those lines that she wants, and that's what's going to be, you know, that's what's going to make her so fast and dominant.
Noelle Pikus-Pace grabs the American flag there, family in tow, and she comes away with the gold medal as we get set for the award presentation in just a moment here. But your final results: Noelle Pikus-Pace in first, Anya Huber finishes in second, and Elizabeth Yarnold is in third from Great Britain. Here's a look at the rest of your standings. And when we come back, we will take a look at the award presentation. Noelle Pikus-Pace takes the gold in Placid.
Can't hear Martin.
Am I on the right side?
No, I have no idea. Is that the right one? Or
It's this side. Yeah.
Third, first.
Back in Lake Placid at Mount Van Hovenberg, the legendary track and the women's skeleton in the books. You get a look at the World Cup standings there. Elizabeth Yarnold with the lead over Anya Huber. Shelley Rudman is sitting in that third spot, and Michelle Steele in fourth. But right now, the important standing is that the American Noelle Pikus-Pace came away as your winner. She finishes with the gold medal, followed by Huber from Germany and Yarnold from Great Britain. A pretty nice 1, 2, 3 as you get a look at them accepting the flowers there on top of the medal stand. Noelle Pikus-Pace right in the middle. And Bree Schaaf, it sets her up so nicely for what we can expect to see from her in Sochi. She is just on a tear right now, and she had a great run.
It is. It's all building, and what better way to build to the games than just, you know, winning every race? That's a good way to start off the Olympics.
That'll carry quite a bit of confidence for her as you're getting a look at her run, and she was clean and smooth throughout. She wanted to smooth those turns out. She certainly did it here in Placid.
Right, she's got just as much experience as anyone out here, and just the love for the sport and the love of her family, I think that really just keeps her in a really centered and calm place to come out here and just repeat win over and over.
Celebration from the American coaches and the look of, I know I got beat by Huber, and that is the look of, I know I just won from Noelle Pikus-Pace as she gives the Americans a high five here on the home track in Lake Placid. Let's send it down now to John Morgan, who is at the finish line with our winners. John?
Okay, down for the interviews here. Elizabeth Yarnold, you still maintain the World Cup lead. Little different track here in Lake Placid than Park City and Calgary.
Yeah, they're all very, very different tracks. It's a bit like motor racing in that way. It's only my third time ever competing here. You know, I'm still relatively the rookie, the young one. So it's great to, you know, be on the podium with these same very experienced athletes. And, you know, you never give up till the second run's over. And a massive thanks to all my fans and family at home who always support me. I couldn't be here without them. Congratulations,
World Cup leader. Get to keep the shirt on. And Anya, what a good way for you to break out of that little slow start that you had here. Boy, you were flying on that bottom part of the track here.
Yeah, I really feel comfortable with this track this week. That's crazy for me, and it's the first time, but I really like it. It's a lot of fun, and now I'm really, really happy to be back on the podium.
Congratulations. Noelle, this is getting pretty regular here, the third week in a row and the second week in a row with the gold medal, and you just felt comfortable all the way down the track.
Yeah, I felt good. In training I was not doing so hot, so I just took a day off yesterday to really just kind of visualize what I needed to do. I've been down this track a lot, so just being able to put it together one piece at a time, and it came together today, so I'm really happy with it. Happy to be here celebrating it with my family, my husband, and my kids, and my sponsors. I couldn't do it without any of them or coaches and all those that have helped out.
Congratulations, great victory, ladies.
Thanks.
So Noelle Pikus-Pace comes away with the gold, Anya Huber the silver, and Elizabeth Yarnold, as she calls herself the young rookie and maybe the underdog, comes away with the bronze. But looked pretty good out there to me, Bree. So a great race here for the skeleton for the women, and it is with no surprise Noelle Pikus-Pace who comes away with yet another gold medal. That's 2 in a row, even though some might say 3, and 3 podiums in a row. A nice race indeed by the ladies in a very chilly Lake Placid. Final thoughts?
You know, we get to watch this again on Sunday. I believe there's a second women's race, so it'll be really interesting to see how things play out. There's going to be people coming out with some vengeance.
For Bree Schaaf, I'm Nick Gismondi. Thanks for watching. Noelle Pikus-Pace is your gold medal winner.